Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am Blue Fire Dragon, and today we will be doing What If Deku Had Boosted Gear. Now, I know we haven't done a video in quite a while, but do be patient. With school starting, many of us have not been able to record, and we've only now have rescheduled ourselves to record. So thank you for your patience, and with that, let's begin.
I'll never forget this day. I'll never forget this day.
It was early in the morning at the beach when I heard yelling. When I looked, I saw young Midoriya, with no shirt, yelling at the top of his lungs, raw emotion coming from his throat as he let it all out. I saw him trembling, and I buffed up to catch him. When I did, he looked tired. He looked at me and said, "Do I even deserve this? It kind of feels like cheating." I set him on his feet and showed him what he looked like before and said, "There are times when you earn something because you worked for it, and there are times when you earn something because you are lucky. Take that to heart, young Midoriya." I pulled a hair off my head and held it out to him. "Eat this." He looked shocked, so I had to take a different route. "Come on, eat, eat, eat. You need to digest some of my DNA to inherit my quirk, and the entrance exams wait for no man." After that, he took the hair and ate it. I looked at him as he ran off to take his next big step to becoming a hero. I smiled, knowing I made the right choice. It's now Izuku's point of view. After I got home and showered, and ate breakfast as fast as I could, I ran out the door towards UA to take the entrance exams. On the way there, people stared at me confused as to what I could be doing. However, I looked at the time and saw that I had 20 minutes to get there. I started to run, and when I got there I paused to take it all in. Finally, my dream high school. I took a step forward and tripped. Suddenly I felt weightless and heard a girl's voice. "It would be bad luck if you fell. Sorry I used my quirk on you without asking first. Well, see ya," she said as I stood and gravity returned to me once again. Oh my gosh, I talked to a girl, I thought, while at the same time realized that I didn't actually talk to her. Still, it's an improvement. Ain't that half the truth, am I right, viewers? Anywho, back to the story. I snapped back to reality when I saw people staring at me. Just because I have a quirk doesn't automatically make me a hero. I've only been given the right to stand at the starting line. I walked towards the building where it would all start, for better or for worse. Overdramatic time skip! Brought to you by Blue Fire Dragon. I was looking at the massive battle center when I saw the girl from earlier, and I thought I'd go say thanks for catching me when I fell. And then I felt a hand on my shoulder. When I looked, I saw it was the guy back from when President Mike was talking about the robots. "She appears to be focusing. Do you wish to squander her focus and ruin her chances of getting in?" he asked. No, it's not what you think. I wasn't trying to do that at all," I frantically said, and entirely missed the doors being open. "And go!" President Mike shouted. When nobody moved, he said, "Hey, hey, You're not gonna get a countdown in a real fight, so get going 'cause the clock's ticking. I was still standing there when I realized that I needed to get going and get some points. After running for a bit, I heard someone talk in my head. So this is where you fail, huh, partner? I skidded to a halt when a one-pointer appeared. I panicked because my legs didn't want to move. I was frozen in place when it was shot down by a laser. I looked and saw a boy standing there, arms behind his head with a belt that looked like a concentrated mirror in the center. We made a good team with you as a distraction. However, I feel like we won't see each other anymore. Good luck. And with that, he shot himself off. Was that a quirk? It definitely was flashy, but it only used in surprise attacks like the one he just pulled. I did not expect a response to my thoughts. You're absolutely right, partner. That power is pretty useless in confrontation. It was then I recognized the voice to be one of from my dream. Drag? I hesitantly asked as I ran to find robots and get my points. Meanwhile, in the monitor room, the staff of UA were watching the examinees and complimenting them on certain qualities or skills they had, but one had a special test in mind. He pressed the red button and said, "Let's see how they react to this." Back on the testing ground, Izuku made it to a clearing up ahead and found utter chaos. Robots littered the ground while people destroyed any that got in their way. "By the way, you only have 2 minutes left," President Mike shouted. If anyone paid attention, they would have seen Midoriya looking quite panicked. After a minute of looking and failing to find a robot and destroy one, the ground started shaking. A giant metal hand crushed the corner of a house. 8 or 9 targeting eyes gleamed at the testers. They did the next best thing. Run the bloody hell away. Deku would have had he not been frozen in fear while a certain engine quirk user ran by looking at Midoriya. A cry of pain reached One For All's current holder's ears as he turned and saw a nice girl trapped under a slab of concrete. One look at the robot and he ran. Not away, no. That would ruin the plot going here. He ran towards it with the intent to save her. When he was a few feet away, he crouched down and put all of his power into his legs and jumped for all he was worth. Soon he was at eye level. Sort of. Which eye do you think you'd look at anyways? Put One For All in his right arm and punched the zero-pointer with all his might. Pun intended. Seconds later, it exploded from head to foot, only to realize he was in fact broken, like dry spaghetti. Landing would only be impossible without failing. As Deku was ready to punch the ground, he was slapped across the face and stopped falling. He just floated there until the girl said release, fell, and puked rainbows and sparkles. I'm sure you all know what that is. Midoriya tried to move to get at least 1 point before time was called by Mike, and he collapsed from exhaustion and passed out. Before we continue, I'd like to say that Mignetta is not part of the story, mainly because he would not have passed the exams. And I'm sure most of you would agree with me. Hell, I don't even know how he got into UA in the first place. Anyways, back to the story. It's now Izuku's point of view. I was sitting at the table staring blankly at a fish when my mom brought me out of it. "Izuku, honey, do you need to be concerned?" I looked at her and started eating. "No, mom, just stressed is all." After I finished eating, I sat down and began to lift weights. I think it's cool you enrolled into UA. I don't think I could have," my mom said as she got up and headed for the door. I smiled a little bit until I remembered how much I failed at the exam in All Might. On top of that, Drake had been quiet ever since the exam, and I haven't been able to get in touch with All Might either. It's here! It's here! A letter from UA! Mom yelled out and ran to me. With the letter in my hand, I walked to my room and sat down at my desk. I was so nervous. What if I failed? What if All Might wants the quirk back? I don't know. No point in worrying about that now. I got the letter, might as well open it. I ripped the envelope in two, and a small disc fell out. Suddenly, All Might popped up in a yellow suit and blue tie. I am here! I wondered why All Might was doing this. I thought this was a letter from UA. Young Midoriya, I bet you're wondering why I'm here. Well, I'm going to teach at UA. In any case, you passed the written exam with flying colors. However, to pass the practical, you needed over 50 points. My head dropped. However, I'm also an entertainer. Take a look. My head shut up, and I paid close attention because I could hear the silver lining in his voice. Hi, I was wondering if maybe I could give some of my points to that green hair boy. Um, he's kind of plain looking, but I was wondering if I could. Present Mike's voice could be heard. No, young female listener, you cannot. Besides, there's no need to. My jaw dropped. Why would anyone do something so nice for me? She came in directly to negotiate with us. She was moved to act despite not needing to because of your brave actions. Also, there was a hidden point system in the exam, given by the panel of judges. Midoriya, you scored 60 rescue points. You pass. Welcome to your Hero Academia. Now, truth be told, I ain't gonna do anything flashy because I heard this line far too many times. I'm kinda tired of that sort of BS. Back to the story! All Might stretched out his hands towards the screen as the video ended. I teared up because one, I was happy to finally get into the school of my dreams, but also knowing that I took a big step towards becoming a hero. Overly dramatic time skip! I was at the door with Yue's school uniform on, tying my shoes, with Mom seeing me off for the first day of UA. Izuku, I'm proud of you, son, she said as I smiled and headed out the door. One train ride later, I was running to find Class 1A when I found a giant door with 1A on it. I just hoped that Kachan would be in this class. I opened the door to find myself greatly disappointed, and I almost shut the door until I saw a girl looking at me like she was placing me somewhere in her memory. Despite that, she looked like that girl who came to the beach sometimes when I was there. All Might told me she probably just wanted to know who was cleaning the beach, until he sent a jab that she might like me, to which I blushed like a tomato. I was brought back to Earth when someone came up to me. My name is Tenya Ida, from Somei Academy. He stuck out his hand, and I shook it. Izuku Midoriya, nice to meet you. Suddenly I felt a tap on my shoulders. Hey, it's Falling Boy. Hey, how do you think this year's gonna go? And who's our teacher? Oh, by the way, my name is Ochaku Uraraka. Alright, pause. Before we continue on with the story, this grammar in the script is so bad I want to punch a wall. Anyways, that's out of the way, let's continue. If you're here to make friends, then you can pack up and go home, said a very tired voice. I looked down and saw a man in a yellow sleeping bag. It took you 8 seconds to be quiet. That's not rational. Time is precious. Rational people would understand that. He walked to the podium with his sleeping bag in hand. My name is Shota Aizawa. I'll be your homeroom teacher. Now put these on and head outside. With that, he left and we went to get change. When we got outside, we saw Mr. Aizawa waiting for us. Today, you'll be competing in 8 physical tests to test your upper limits with your quirks. Bakugo, what was your farthest throw in junior high? Kachan took a moment, then said, 67 meters, I think. Mr. Aizawa nodded. The government thinks that by not allowing us to use quirks in physical tests, they're making everyone equal. That's not rational. And one day the Board of Education will learn that. Now, Bakugo, throw his ball and use your quirk. Anything goes. Just stay inside the circle. He nodded and threw the ball, powered by an explosion, yelling, Die! Mr. Aizawa showed us the distance. 705 meters. Wow, we get to use our quirks? This will be fun, the pink girl said. So you think this is fun, huh? Okay, the person in last place will be deemed to have zero potential and expelled immediately. Uraraka didn't seem to like it. But it's only the first day. It's not fair. Mr. Aizawa frowned. Natural disasters, villains, terrorists, all these things aren't fair. So it's our job to combat this unfairness. Go beyond. Show me it's not a mistake that you're here. Pulse Ultra style. 50-meter dash. Ida versus Tsuyu Asui. Ida and Asui lined up, and the robotic voice said, Start. With that, Ida dashed off, quite literally. 50 meters only gets me up to third gear. Asui bounced behind him. 3.04 was Ida's time. 5.58 was Asui's time. He seems like he's fish in water, though speed won't help in every situation, Mr. Aizawa said to himself. Next up was Ochako Uraraka versus Mashiro Ojiro. Uraraka touched her clothes to make them lighter, while Ojiro just stood there. Ready? Go. Ojiro hopped on his tail and finished first, with Ochako right behind him. 5.49, 7.15. Yuga Ayuma versus Mina Ashido. Everyone, you're not being creative enough. I'll show you what it means to use your quirk, Yuga said while Mina just looked at him. Ready? Go. With that, he jumped off and fired his laser, while Mina ran behind him, barefoot. 1 second later, Yuga's laser disappeared and he fell to the ground. Mina passed him and he quickly fired his laser again. 5.51, the robot said. If I fire my laser for more than a second, I get a tummy ache. Just what the hell am I reading? Who's this Yuga character? Am I missing something? Yo, Blaze! The hell is this script? I. Next up is Izuku Midoriya versus Katsuki Bakugo. Both of them get ready and waiting to run. Ready? Go. They started running. Explosive speed. And with that, he flew 4.13, 7.02. Bakugo stood up and displayed that his massive ego of his. My quirk has more uses than anyone here. Midoriya had his hands on his knees. Next test, grip test. Izuku stood and held out his hand. Boosted gear, he said. And then an evolved gauntlet appeared on his left hand. Boost me, Izuku said, and the reply was the usual boost. And the gauntlet flashed a bit. Then he gripped the machine and got 205 kilograms. And then let the gauntlet disappear. Momo looked over to see how Midoriya was doing, and she saw a red hand. She doesn't know what the gauntlet is yet, and was surprised when he said "boost me" and got a reply. Though she initially passed it on as his quirk, she also thought about it irregularly. Hold up. I think I'm only realizing this now, but this might be from High School DxD. Or is it D&D? Ah, hell, I don't know. Back to the story. Next test. Repeated sidesteps. Miata took a ball on his head and formed two bigger balls and bounced between them really fast, and Momo saw Midoriya looking very panicked for reasons she didn't know. Standing long jump. As everyone used their quirks in some way or fashion, Mr. Aizawa was looking at Midoriya, or more specifically, his left hand. He noted how every 10 seconds it flashed a green light, and how on the 14th lime green on the rear back of his hand. He then saw Midoriya put that hand on both his legs and said something. To Aizawa's confusion, the hand talked back, transfer. Gaining a few odd looks here and there, Midoriya's legs gained an emerald green aura on his legs. When it was his turn to jump, he launched in the air and landed further than Ayoma. Ball throw. Ochaku stepped up and used her quirk on the ball and threw it. She got infinity on her score, of course. Next was Midoriya. Aizawa narrowed his eyes when he saw his arm light up the way it did in the entrance exams. Then his eyes turned red, his hair stood up, and erasing Midoriya's quirk. He then wrapped his scarf around Izuku and pulled him towards himself. I erased your quirk, so don't you think you're gonna break your arm again, huh? In battle, you'd only become a liability, and you'd get in the way. Take your final throw and be done with it. Now the only question is he going to forfeit, use that red hand thing, or break something? Either way, this kid is just barely passing the test. Momo was watching the confrontation. She was worried about what was said between the two. Midoriya, however, would not give up. All Might and his mom both supported him and helped him to get to where he is now. He wasn't about to let them down. From the corner of a nearby gym, that's what I'm guessing it was, All Might was watching. Hey, is he serious? Izuku brought out his gauntlet and let it boost once, and transferred the power to his right arm, and charged his finger with One for All, and threw the ball, creating a massive gust of wind and a crater below his feet. And it almost toppled everyone due to the sheer power he just released. When the ball landed, the score came up. Aizawa turned to the students and showed them his score: 725.4 meters. Mr. Aizawa, I can still move, he said, making a fist to prove his point. This kid might just make the cut. However, he's going to be starting from the bottom, just like a certain third year. Back to Midoriya's Pav. Afterwards, I had to fight through the pain as we finished the rest of the fitness tests. I just hoped that I wasn't in last place. I also didn't want anyone to get last place, but I knew someone was going to. And nobody's point of view. As they got done, Midoriya collapsed as people walked on by. He fought to get up and clenched his right arm because of the pain. Aizawa pulled up the test scores, and they looked at them carefully. Midoriya looked and sighed with relief that he wasn't last, because the last place? Minoru Mineta. Aizawa looked at him, wrapped him up, and carried him off. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of this video. Hope you like. If you like the video, subscribe. Uh, do stay tuned for more in the future. I got a little surprise for y'all in the next video. With that, peace out and have a great day.